Hey guys, this is IntroducingEmy, and we're back with another 100 Days of Making Comics! I kind of put that series on pause when I just had to like put my head down and work all the time and I couldn't record, but now we're back and I'm working on volume 3 and I'm just doing like touch-ups and stuff and right at the point where I'm going to ink this page, but I woke up this morning and I didn't like how, let me turn the filter off, this kind of like connects to his sleeve in this panel and you get, I forget what they call that. It's not like tension points. I can't think of it, but it creates this false illusion that this line continues up into his sleeve and this is actually a gutter right here splitting these two panels. So I'm actually just going to change the angle a little bit here to not be like that. So first things first, I'm going to just right away change that. I also haven't warmed up yet today, so I apologize if you hear the constant clack of Control Z. I got a really strange comment on one of my videos. It was on one of my Krita drawing videos and the person was like, how do you undo something? And it was like in all caps, like screaming, emergency mode. And I was like, Control Z, and I think Control Y if you want to redo. I don't remember if that's a thing in Krita, but I just thought like Control Z was sort of like general knowledge, especially if you're at the point where you're already drawing in like an art program. Like you managed to install it. I think I might also just like move this whole panel over some to try to like break that and where are the gutters? Right there. Okay. I've also been kind of struggling with like her arm right here kind of like rides the bottom of this panel. And I just I haven't found like a way to make it look good yet, so let's see what I can do here. I think honestly this just needs to be like a little bit overdrawn. Sometimes I don't like I'm like, no, this should be more perspective-y and da-da-da-da-da, but generally like it's kind of interesting when I put a lot of my characters' poses into Pose or Design Doll. A lot of times the field of view is really shallow. Like, this is a little bit like technical crap, but that's okay. We'll just go on an adventure together talking about this. So my field of view naturally tends to be really shallow, like maybe like a 25, like a 15 to 25 field of view, which really like flattens out the perspective on my characters. And it's hard to explain without like actually like digging in there, but you're just gonna take my word for it. And so like lately I've been trying to compensate for that by like pushing the perspectives a lot harder and trying to get my field of view to be a lot wider, like more like 45 degrees or so. And again, without actually like getting into it and like showing you, it's hard to explain, but sometimes I have to just like do like the really like cartoony poses where like the arm is like this as opposed to like coming at you like that. again, hard to explain without the models and everything. So, like, for panels like this where characters are just, like, yapping at each other and stuff, I try to just keep it simple, especially in the redos where I don't have, like, a lot of time to be working on them and stuff. But the redos, not only is it, like, a little adventure for me to, make the books real pretty and everything, but it's important to me that I'm actually, like, benefiting in some personal way from it through the artistic process. Like, I don't want to just be sitting here, like, cranking out samey pages all day the way I did for a lot of volume 1, even though I did learn a lot, don't get me wrong. But like when it comes to serious business time comic making, especially for the new stuff, like my regular updates, that's what it is. It's serious business comic making time, and I don't have a whole lot of time to be learning like new stuff. So, oh, what did that do? That did nothing. Okay, I don't know what. I must have clicked the wrong thing. Layer, yeah, cut. So I like to do the redos and the touch-ups. They're my excuse to be like, well, I'm learning, and I am. I'm not like just bullshitting. I'm not just like, yeah, sure, I'm learning all kinds of fancy new techniques. I hope I'm making sense. I tend to like blather on and then I come back and listen to some of the things I've said and I'm like, wow, I didn't really make any sense, but it's hard to draw and talk at the same time. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift this whole panel over so that, look, you can see the old panel peeking out down there. I've really liked working on the, let's do, why can't I, oh, I have the wrong thing selected. Okay, sorry. Here we go. So my big thing is like text placement here. I want it to be like doot doot doot. You're usually like better off with a Z shape to your pages. It's just how the human eye tends to read. So I think this will be okay. Do I happen to have this panel still? Like, I do. I was working on this panel the other day and it was the last one I did. Because it was the one panel that I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do for this panel. But I want to put the rest of the calendar in there. There's a calendar on the wall next to them. And yeah. So I'm mostly concerned that none of these lines line up with this line. So as long as that is okay, I'm free to move it wherever. I think that'll be good though for now. And then I'm going to ink it. I'm gonna ink it. I'm gonna cover up all this garbage down here so you can't see that anymore. And I don't mind that text kind of floating over. So I turn all the text off anyway nowadays when I go to ink it. Just makes my life a little easier. And I just want to make sure that I make it clear that there's a wall here and he's just not like leaning into thin air. I'll have to do that though, I think, through the shading. I've only been recording for 10 minutes, so let me pause the recording and go ink it. Like, I'll bring you with me. Hold on. Be right back. Okay, and we're back and ready to start inking here. I had to bring the sketch over to Manga Studio, and it doesn't take that long, but it's boring. It has nothing to do with drawing. So, perfect. So, what I like to do lately, especially with the redos where I'm trying to just like get them sped along, is I go through and I look for long lines that, inking by hand would be a little bit of a pain, and I just like kind of go through and draw with the curve tool. Draw them out. Take some of the tedium out. Now, mind you, I go in and like refine all this so it doesn't look so stark or boring, I guess, because there's no line weight when I do this, which is something to keep in mind. So if you decide to go this route, remember that you need to put your line weight in, or the line weight goblin will come and slap you at night. But part of the reason I do it like this is just because it's quicker, and then I don't have to do as much. Come on. Okay, so then what I would do is I go in here. What am I set at? I've got a pretty heavy brush. Let's go down to like a 4 correction. So like in little tight areas like this, I don't like to have them completely enclosed off. It just, when I go to color, it makes things a little annoying to paint bucket in. So like a lot of times on like where I get large areas of white, I won't like connect. Like I won't like I wouldn't like draw that and finish it. I'll leave it open. I think it also helps some of the lines kind of disappear a little bit. You know, they kind of fade a little bit, if that makes any sense. Oh, some of these characters I could draw in my sleep at this point. Draw them so much they start just like becoming routine. I have to think of like new ways to always make them look a little more interesting or give them different angles. They get a little samey for me all the time. It's hard, you know, when you have a comic that relies a lot on drama and talking and intrigue and mystery, and there's not as much action involved, you know, you have to like find new ways to come up with creative angles and ways to present dialogue and stuff. And it's been kind of fun going back to the redos and like being like, oh well, you know, I don't need to show, like, because in the early days of doing the comic, it kind of was the dreaded talking head thing where it's just like two characters like da 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 da, and it's just like headshots every other panel. There's still a lot of that, don't get me wrong. Some of it I just can't get around, but it's been fun going back and like trying to like recreate panels in ways that young Emmy of the past wouldn't have thought of. Sometimes it makes more work for myself, and other times it makes things a lot easier. Especially if I'm like, well, you know, I don't need to show both of them talking to each other here. I can just show their feet, or like little things like that, that actually makes my life a lot easier. I'll just show their hands, or I'll show something on the wall that they're talking about, but still make it clear who's speaking and about what and to who and all that. But it's fun to find those little workarounds. I'm actually working on a tutorial right now about layouts. I always feel like I am not qualified enough to talk about comic layouts and stuff, since my widest experience with comics has been through Trying Human, which is just one thing. I mean, I have other comics, but none that I've put so much time and investment in as I have Trying Human. So I feel like I'm not really that qualified. I'm not an expert on comics by any means, so I feel like a little presumptuous to be like, here's how you do layouts. So I'm trying to think of like a balance, I guess, of like, this is my knowledge base, this is how I do things, take with huge grains of salt. I know one of the things that really helped me a lot was when I first got SketchUp, back when it was Google SketchUp, one of the things I used to do was, well, like the way I found it was, there was a comic book artist, I think he was a penciler for Marvel, and he did a Spider-Man comic, and he talked about how he what's going on here? Wait. Finger. Okay. Kind of confused myself a little there. He was talking about how he was, trying to find the perfect angle for this city scene, this, skyline, and that he had used SketchUp to reposition very quickly without having to like redraw his whole skyline. And I thought, yeah, that's the ticket. So I went and got the program to screw around with, and I got the idea to what is going on here? Oh, okay, that should be closed. Got the idea to just put like stand-ins, which is what we used to call them in computer modeling class, stand-ins of humans, like kind of doing similar things, like, sitting or standing or running or whatever, in roughed out 3D concepts for the rooms I wanted them in, and that like really changed a lot of the way of how I started setting up my layouts. I started to like play around a lot more with camera angles and stuff, because I had, I didn't have to worry about like, how am I gonna draw this wild background in a week's time or whatever it was between pages at that point. So it really changed things, and it also helped keep my sets consistent. Just in general, like if a character damages a piece of furniture or moves a piece of furniture around, then all I have to do is do it in my set, and then I don't have to remember that the next time I go back to the page. I can just be like, oh, yeah, that's right. He threw that object and that's gone now, or that got removed from the scene. So by the way, I apologize if you can hear my fan in the background. It's Kind of a chilly morning here, so we've got the heat on upstairs. I kind of remember when I first started the comic, I got a lot of not heavy criticism or flack. It wasn't like huge hate campaigns or anything. A lot of people didn't like the way I portrayed Phyllis. Either she acted too much like a 1940s woman, or she didn't act enough like a 1940s woman, and I could never figure out what the balance was. So I just kind of kept writing her the way I was writing her, and this is the character I'm working on right now, Phyllis, by the way. That's why I bring it up. So recently I've been asked if I'm left-handed or right-handed. I am right-handed, but I must obviously be doing something that makes a lot of people think I'm left-handed. It might be the way I pull my lines. This is really bugging me in here. I think it's just that when you change from traditional medium to digital medium, you don't have to do things that you would normally have to do if you were drawing with, you know, pencil and paper. Like, you have to kind of make sure your hand doesn't get in the way. Well, that I'm not drawing on a screen type tablet, like a visual tablet. I'm drawing on just like a regular old bum of a Wacom. So I lie, my Wacom is precious, please don't break. So I think that you know, you don't have to worry about your hand getting in the way on certain angles and stuff, and it kind of frees up how you push and pull your lines. Actually, one of the reasons I don't work with a visual, I'm not, it's not a visual tablet. I forget what they're called. It's, you know what I mean, though. It's a tablet that, like, there's a screen, like a Cintiq. You know, there's others on the market now, but you get what I'm saying. You get me. I don't like how this is kind of square shaped, so I'm going to round it off a little more, by the way, just so you know what I'm doing. I had tried using them before. I've tried a few times now, and I just don't like it. I don't like the fact that I have to look down or directly into the screen with my hand in the way. Well, first of all, I don't like looking down. And a lot of the earlier models, that they were kind of like sitting on your lap. I have a good friend who I think she still uses them, and she makes gorgeous art, and it's, you know, that's her dig, but everybody always kind of gives me flack about the fact that I haven't gone on to use like Cintiqs and stuff. I don't like. I don't like them. I don't know. I've always kind of had issues with them, and like if I got a job and they were like, or I have a job, but I mean like a job that somebody was my boss and they were like, hey, you're gonna use a Cintiq, I'd be like, alrighty Rooney, but it'd be a bigger learning curve for me than if I was just given like a regular old tablet, you know. Oh, I just heard my dog moan. She's such a moany pooch. Yeah, I actually have like a little, they don't make them anymore, but they were called the Samsung Slate. I don't think they make them anymore. But, it's like a little tablet with a pen. And I really tried to make it work for a long time. I would use it from time to time to sketch, like if I was on a plane or something and I was bored. But at that point I was like, well, I just want to use a sketchbook. You know, like I just want traditional media over the tablet. I think some of my issue was like, you know, if I'm going to do digital art, I want to do it the way I like to do it. And if I'm going to do traditional, I want to do it the way I like to do it, you know. I'm very much the kind of person, I'm super set in my ways. I don't like other people getting in my way too much about things. I get pretty frustrated. Come on, what's going on here? I remember when I first started using Manga Studio, I was so amazed by how much quicker I was getting pages done. I used to like time myself. I used to like when I would stream and stuff, I'd be like, time me guys, time me. And I'd be like, vroom, and just, so that was the days, man. Don't get me wrong, they're still the days, but it was more of a novelty back then. And I think that is about gonna do it. I think I'm almost at 30-minute mark. Probably gonna finish the rest of this one on stream or something. I kind of hate doing like just like filling up my YouTube channel with like literal step-by-steps of my pages. I worry they're like super boring. Especially for 300 Days of Making Comics. Recently, I've been watching a lot more of other people's 300 days, or 300, 100, how many days have I been saying? 4 million days of making comics. And I noticed that a lot of people do them, like, there's less drawing, and it's just more like blog-style stuff about, you know, their day-to-day lives, or things they struggle with, or don't struggle with, you know, just stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, should I change my format? But I don't have a lot of else to talk about other than like what I'm working on in my comics and stuff. So, and all that happens like through the drawing process. So we'll have to see. We shall see. Considering this is the first one I've done in a long time, there might be a slightly different audience watching this than the original 40-some that I did, so maybe we'll get a fresh perspective of people coming in here and being like, knock off all that comic stuff in your 100 days of making comics. I doubt, but I can change it up more. Like, one thing I don't do is I don't like give tours of my home or studio or anything. That is my business. No, it's just, honestly, I worry that it's like, yeah, this is where I live. Woo! You know, it's not that fun. Oh, I guess I should stop this. I guess it's been about 30 minutes and I'll render this. Look how far we've gone. Look how we've almost got the first panel done. No probs, no probs. Alright, let me get this first page rendering and yeah. Bye!